welcome back to the show with Susan, Alex and Storm. Delighted to say we're now joined by the journalist Peg Alexander. And how are you, first of all?
I'm very well, Jeremy. Hope you all are too this morning.
We're great. Thank you so much. Loving the hair, as always, by the way. So I want to mention a story that's still bubbling around about Rishi Sunak going to Rochdale, where, of course, a grooming gang of mainly or nearly all Asian men was exposed. And he says we need to now start recording the ethnicity of people in these paedophile rings. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, any data that we've got that actually tells us who is perpetrating child sexual abuse is really useful. And I think what we'll find is probably when we get that data, probably similar maybe to the Home Office study of 2020, we'll discover that actually the majority of people involved in gangs and groups are actually white. But I just wanted to take this a bit further because I used to work in children's safety. I used to be very senior in a government agency that was looking at how we sorted out children's safety after the Victoria Climbié disaster. And genuinely, from that experience, and I was very senior in it, I have come to the conclusion that we should take children's safety out of the hands of politicians. We had the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. That made loads of recommendations. I'm not quite sure at the moment what's happened with them. We have agencies set up and then they're disbanded when politically that's what politicians decide to do. And this is just too important. I want to see a national commission actually responsible for children's safety. And then we can look at everything, not just grooming gangs. We can look at what's happening online, because that's a massive, massive problem as well. We can look at all the recommendations that came out about priests and the churches, about individual local authorities, about Westminster. I mean, let's get the whole lot out there and let's get children's safety properly sorted out, because I really think it is too important to leave in the hands of politicians.
Okay. There's a story about Carol Vorderman. She's got this campaign going about why are conservatives campaigning in elections and so on, removing the word conservative from their so-called bio. Peg, it doesn't work, does it? Because people go into a polling booth on election day and it clearly says the name and the party.
Well, it does when you look at your ballot paper. I just think this is really quite interesting, personally, and you probably won't be surprised for me to say this. I mean, I just think the entire parliamentary system is broken, and I think this kind of is just another example of the fact that we really need to look at and reform our entire parliamentary system, and we need proper rules and regs for MPs. Frankly, they've been paid a lot of money. I'd quite happily have an MP's salary, thank you very much, and to tell people what I do, but they can do whatever they want. So I just think this needs to go on the long list. I've got a list that I regularly tweet out of ways that I think things we need to look at. The long list of things we need to do. For me as a northerner, right, Parliament, it's just, do you know what I mean? It just doesn't work all the time. We're just hearing all this stuff about Parliament, I mean, at very least, we need to look at the voting system and get proportional representation in there at the very, very least indeed. But frankly, those people have been paid to go and do a job, and they do get elected as part of their party. They are elected under that banner, and I think they should be really open and honest about it. There are loads of other ways to do stuff, like citizens panels, all around the world, where citizens juries and citizens panels have taken on really complex, difficult issues. They've done it really seriously, and they've come out with decisions that have been really acceptable across the board. That's another way. And we don't look at that, we don't think about that, and that's a really good idea.
It's very interesting. I mean, certainly there's not been a worse moment, right in saying something's gone wrong.
Just anyone watching who has yet to go through it, I do want to reassure the women who have yet to go through menopause, it isn't always dreadful.
And you don't always need HRT.
You don't always need it. I mean, for the one who do...
Peg, go on.
I was just going to say, Susan, I'm so glad that you got through it easily. I'm really so glad. So I had polycystic ovaries all my adult life, and I was always told the payoff would be an easy menopause. Quite the opposite. And I have to say, it's just been absolutely dreadful. I mean, really dreadful. And getting HRT for me was like a wonder drug. I mean, literally within the space of 24 hours, it completely and utterly changed my life. What for me was interesting was I ended up having to get to see someone specially to get the right HRT, and she said to me, she's an expert in it, her line was actually, she said, I think everybody should go on HRT unless there are medical reasons why you shouldn't. I mean, it took a while for me to get the right HRT and for that to get settled. But, you know, I mean, I will tell you this, I just don't feel like life would have been worth living if I hadn't have got that HRT. The headaches were so bad. And I'm so pleased that from now on, there's going to be a new prescription that you pay twice, but it only covers some HRT. So I get 4 prescriptions related to menopause, and 2 of them will be covered and 2 of them won't. And of course, the website went down on Saturday, which is typical because we don't seem capable to do online things and get them sorted here. So I just think if you can get through menopause naturally, fantastic. I am so happy for you. But for those of us who couldn't, oh my goodness, really get on the HRT as early as possible if you're having symptoms.
It is, everyone is different.
What do you think, Peg? Are we overdoing this, do you think? I mean, would it annoy you if you saw Ploughpersons?
No, I mean, to be honest, I'm not a fan of pickles, so I'm more worried about the pickle. I really don't mind in terms of the lunch, you know, I really don't mind at all. But I do think it is important sometimes that we do think about language. We've just talked about menopause and how women's voices aren't heard, so sometimes it's important. I would just say, Jeremy, I don't know this, and I'm not sure whether this is fact, but I'd be amazed actually if all the farmers back in the day were all men. I bet the women were out.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I don't know whether their contribution.
No, you're right.
I'm never going to feel more empowered.
Special thanks to Peg as well for joining us for the papers, and Storm is back after this short break.
Ambrose Mendy.
Well, I mean, Ploughpersons lunch, and I suppose the point about Ploughman's lunch is that nearly everybody who ran a plough in the 1700s was a man.
Would you say, Jeremy, I don't know this, and I'm not sure whether this is fact, but I'd be amazed actually if all the farmers back in the day were all men. I bet the women were out.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I don't know whether their contribution.
No, you're right.
I'm never going to feel more empowered.